Hello everyone, welcome back to the studio. If you don't know me, my name is Leah and I'm a collage artist. Today I wanted to talk about a topic that touches every single person who is an artist, and that is the art of creativity. So I'm not talking about your practice itself, like for example, mine is collage, I use magazines, etc. Or if you're a sculptor and you use clay, for example. We're going to be talking about the barriers and the ways in which we create. This is a topic that is a very interesting one for me because I think everyone has their actual process in which they're making things, and then they have their process in how they actually get to making things. This topic has been one that I've been thinking a lot about, and in my last video I touched on lightly that I have two real mediums, and one is video, like I'm making right now, and one is collage. And then I have a whole bunch of other passions that I touch on. What makes all of those different practices the same is the way in which we execute them. And so if you're struggling with this part of your practice where you're not really sure how to get in the studio, how to create that much, how to form your ideas that you're going to create, how you're going to get yourself into your studio, all of these different things are very interesting to me, and that's the topic that we're going to be touching on today. For some of us, inspiration starts from a photo that we've taken. For others, it's an emotion that comes from within. But what makes them all the same is that they're all from something that was reproduced from reality. Unless you've been raised in a dark cave, everything that you've perceived in your life goes into making what you make. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking about how my intersectionality of mediums work and form my artistic practice. By making videos weekly, my artworks have always been on a timeline of 1 week because of this. So it really had me thinking about what if I changed my process to release a video every other week versus every week? Would this give me 2 weeks now to make an artwork, or would I end up cramming it all in the last couple of days just to get it done in time? Would I think deeper? Would I do more research? Would I attempt a larger project because I could tackle it in 2 weeks? So I'm sorry to say for those who watch me every single week on Saturday mornings, but I've decided that for the rest of the year, I'd really like to go to every other week and just experiment with how I work in that scenario. So we all have constraints in our lives, whether this is children, a job, it could even be the process of another passion. One thing's for certain, and that's that we're all searching for more time for our own practice. If your kids are only out for 3 hours a day, that constrains you. If you only have a few good hours every day, that constrains you. So I'm on a mission to make every day have a couple hours that are as productive and fulfilling as possible. How can I make this important time feel like enough? So here are my strategies for making the most out of your shorter sessions. The first is making a ritual that works for you. This could be brewing a cup of tea, putting on a certain song, something that brings you back to that state of flow. This may look very different for a lot of artists. Some people go for a little walk before they come into the studio and enter with a fresh mind. One of mine that maybe is its own strategy of its own, but it's always the night before I want to create a lot, I clear off my desk and make space for what I want to make. I get it all set up so that I don't have any excuse to not start. And usually in the morning, I'll jot down anything that I want to get done in the studio, or even the night before if there's a specific thing that I'm looking to do while doing those hours. In the mornings, I've become an avid writer, and I do thank this to doing the artist way. I've really enjoyed writing down in the morning, but I think that one thing that I think all artists could try is when you first get up and you know exactly what you want to make in the studio, or even at nighttime the night before, you jot down all the things you're trying to do so that you have a to-do list when you get there. That way you're not looking around like, okay, where do we get started? Yeah. So if you find yourself walking into your studio and feeling like you have no idea what you're going to do, I think it's time to make some sort of ritual, some sort of list, any sort of thing that will help you get on track for creating right away once you hit the studio. If you're someone that struggles with creating on your own time, maybe it's time to sign up for a class. That might sound interesting if you feel like you are a well-seasoned artist, but making the time and even putting money into something can really help you get there every single week. I'm also very religiously putting time into my calendar for when I'm trying to create. But something in my calendar like big studio day or something, and that means that I'm not going on my computer, I'm not going on my phone, I'm not cleaning the house, I'm focusing on my art, I'm sitting at this exact spot and I'm gonna be making something. Sometimes just having that calendar block and even telling other people in your life if you need to, just saying that you're unavailable at these times. I met an artist and I really respected her. She said from 9 to 10 a.m. every single day, you will not be able to reach her. You're not allowed to speak to her. She's in the studio. If an emergency is happening, don't contact her. And she makes a lot of work, and I definitely think that there's something to having a really dedicated schedule. So you set up your dedicated time, and now you're like, well, I'm not really sure what to create, and I need a little bit of help on shaping that. And I think that this is where I have a couple strategies that might help you. The first one that I mentioned briefly before is that I did the artist way, and I've started morning pages. The concept is to write 3 long form pages of writing every single morning the second you wake up. So now I'll wake up an extra half hour early, and I'll just basically brain dump anything in my mind, and I try to reflect it into my art unless there's something really personal bothering me. The idea is that I'm getting my thoughts of creativity on the page and seeing like what I'm actually thinking about. A lot of great ideas have come from this, and I highly recommend other people doing it. A lot of the time it just helps you process what you're thinking about, and it also gives me a to-do list. So if I write anything down that I say I need to do, I immediately put it at the very bottom of the page, a to-do list, and I'll write them all down. And that way I have a foundation for my entire day, which has been extremely useful after feeling very much so like I didn't have a structure to my day. I also find doing things that are artistic but are not my practice or my medium are very helpful. A couple weeks ago, I did a stained glass course, and it was so interesting to see that as artists, we have applicable skills that really work in any medium. We just have to try them. And I think for me, it was a really interesting way of spending 9 hours on something and feeling like, oh, this is something that I could probably do. But do I have the passion for it the way that I have for collage? Not yet, but I could definitely see myself taking a course in it, for example. And I think having something that you can do that is not your practice allows you to do a lot more play. Now, play is something that is underrated a lot of the time. People take their art way too seriously, and I think for me, when I need to get into doing something, play is a very important part of it. If I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, none of these papers are working, what do? I immediately reach for my scrap bin and my junk journal, and I make a piece from that. It's very low stakes. It's not something like I'm making a masterpiece, for example. I'm just playing around with random papers that are literally garbage to me, and it makes me work a lot better, which is always surprising, but it's like I do it and then immediately I'm looking at the table and it's like I've opened the matrix for it and I go directly into flow. Now, on the other side of play is research, and research is something that I think a lot of artists could do more of. And when I'm talking about other artists, I'm talking about myself. I think research is something that is so important to the process, and it's something that sometimes we lack on when we don't have enough time for it. Or sometimes for some people they do too much, and that's like their procrastination point. So figure out which one of these 2 categories you fall into and think about how you can incorporate it more into your life. For me, every time I run into an article that I think would be interesting to read, I've come up with a way of storing it and being able to put it somewhere where I can listen to it via text to speech whenever I'm busy and just running around the house, for example. Like, let's say you have a big cleaning day ahead of you, or you're running errands. You can actually just listen to articles the whole time, and you can do this by downloading and finding extensions for text to speech. This has been so great for me, and I'm sure it would be so great for you in your learning process when you find articles and you just don't have the time and you never go back to them, and making it easy to just listen to if you don't always have the time to fully read something. I'm also a pretty avid reader. I almost read 2 hours a night before bed, every single night. And I've learned that if I am able to read something that is informative at this time, I feel like I learn a lot in that. And when I wake up to do my morning pages, for example, I'm in a great place to write down so many interesting new ideas because my brain has had time to think about those overnight and then write them down on the paper. And one of the next things that I think a lot of artists could do more is plan. So we've got play, research, and plan. And those are 3 that I think are things that people could really work on. So for plan, we talked about how and when to make space for art in your life. But what about the other parts of it, like research, for example? How are you going to plan those things out? How are you going to make sure that you have everything you need when you get to the studio, or that your studio is ready to be used? Planning ahead is not always something that is great for artists. I know we're not all planners, and that's okay. But I think if it comes to doing something like agenda, putting something in your notes or your calendar app, just making sure that there's some sort of record for you so that you're able to get to your planning could really benefit your practice. Sometimes that looks like on Monday, when I know that that's the beginning of the week for me, I will order things that I know that I will need in that week, for example, or the next week. I'll plan out my times of creation. I can plan out what I want to accomplish in those moments. And I think even taking 30 minutes for this at the very beginning of the week will really help you in your practice. Or maybe it's something as simple as planning to read the articles that you've been putting away for a very long time to read. Or watch, for example, if there's tutorials that you've been looking to follow. Putting dedicated time that's long enough to actually complete this is extremely important, and if you don't plan ahead, sometimes things might interfere with it. I think that this is one that I'm not going to give too much information on because I feel like everyone plans things so differently. Same with our art practices, right? So yeah, these are things that I've been thinking about recently, and by having my ritual in place, writing techniques, and my plan for play and research and planning, I hope that I'm able to make a better practice. And I have been putting this into practice, and I feel like I can see a difference. The only difference, as I said, is I'm going to be doing less video, I think, and trying a little bit more arts. And maybe those videos will just be longer because of that. But I'm really excited to see if this video helps you guys. Let me know down below if anything resonated with you, if you have any questions about these processes. And also, I would love to hear about your process now. Like, I've talked about the kind of overarch of what an artist's work and process can look like, but I know that this can be so vastly different. So I would love to hear from you guys. And last but not least, I would love if you supported my art. I am at flanzella.com and I sell art prints and art kits if you're looking to make collage. I have digital downloads, stickers, cards, you name it. You can check them all out at flanzella.com. And as always, it would mean a lot if you liked this video and left a comment if you can. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks, I guess. Bye guys. Hope this was helpful.